Hello. On this episode of Check-In, we are talking about COVID and coping through COVID. I will be speaking specifically to those in leadership and those that are managing people. Over the last year and a half, we have faced a lot of challenges with regards to COVID. We've had to make a lot of adjustments in our lives. We've had to deal with losing people, whether it's within your organization or within your own personal life. My focus today is going to be highlighting some of those challenges that we may have faced and being able to provide you with some coping strategies in being able to work effectively with your teams. So to start, some of the challenges that we're facing now is that a lot of our team members are working remotely. And when they're working remotely, it means that we don't have the opportunity to engage in face-to-face supervision. When you're in an office, it's very easy to walk over to a colleague's desk and just be able to provide some guidance on a task that's being managed. But now we don't have that ability in our everyday working relationships. Also, what you see is that with people working remotely, we are put in a position where we have less information about the people that we're managing. So it means that in everyday life, we depend partly on nonverbal communication in order to understand how the communication is happening between two people. So if I walk into the office today and I'm low of mood, my colleague understands that my interaction with them throughout the day might not be as upbeat as it normally is. But now, if I'm working from home, they don't know exactly what my mood is like or what I'm dealing with as an individual. So when I send my emails, when I send my communication, it's in a very different tone that they may not be able to understand, which can create a lot of conflict in our interpersonal communication. Another challenge that arises is that we might not be able to engage as a team. So we lose a lot of team building opportunities because we're working remotely. So all those opportunities to go for lunch together or sit at a desk and laugh about the game yesterday are not there. So we have that challenge of gaps within the teams that we're managing that are established now due to working remotely. Another challenge that you might be able to see within your teams is that you might not be able to manage confidentiality or manage even signing and approval processes for things that need to be done within the organization. This might prove to be much more of a challenge now because working from home, you have other people living within the home. Signing up and approval processes might mean moving documentation from one home to the other just to get it done, especially if you don't have e-systems in place yet. So with all these things, it's not just about the people that you're managing. It's also about you as a leader, as a manager. What is the impact on you? And on an individual level, what you see is that, of course, you experience a lot more distractions within the home setup because, there's challenges with regards to other people knowing now that they have a lot more access to you because you're home. But also, work-life boundaries might be quite challenging during this time. And this is specific to your team and the people that you work with. People now might have very different working hours from what was established in an office setup. So what you find is things like people calling you outside working hours to get information or to be able to get a response from you. So you might be receiving calls at 20 hours, during the day or even at 7 or 6 a.m. And this can, create a lot of difficulties within the home setup and for your own self in how you're able to engage people. So with all these challenges in place, talking about as an individual how you're impacted and also how you're managing your team, what are some of the things that you could do in order to ease some of these challenges, but also to become more effective as a manager and as a team? One of the first things that is very effective is being able to set expectations very early on. So whether it's expectations for the week or expectations for the month, it's very important to be able to outline these expectations with your team so that everyone walks away fully understanding what is required of them and what they need to do. But also, because we don't have those face-to-face opportunities for supervision, it means that you may have to create a lot more time and a lot more room within your schedule for check-ins. And these check-ins are basically to allow for your team to seek guidance, for your team to be able to share their challenges and to be able to look at potential solutions to whatever it is that they're struggling with. And one of the key things about, this process of working and managing people remotely is that it moves you from being a manager to being a leader. And what the key difference there is that you have to be able to create a significant support structure for your team. It means that, that micromanaging approach might not be effective now that people are working from home. It might require you to create a lot more support in terms of, what is it that you can do to help your team be more effective? How can you help with particular tasks? And in that process, what you're able to also ensure to put in place with regards to your support structure is being able to check in with your team beyond the role and the tasks that they're meant to do. Understanding that everybody has been impacted, everybody is, undergoing a lot of challenges with regards to COVID. If it's not grief, it's just challenges at home and all these dynamics. It's very important to be able to check in with your team beyond the professional role. So being able to create time for, asking about their family, how they're doing, how they're managing. What this does is that it communicates care and concern on the part of you as their leader, which is very effective in incentivizing how productive they can be. You also want to ensure that as they are working remotely, they're able to also collaborate on tasks. That also reinforces the idea of team building. People are still able to work together, they're able to learn from each other continuously. So it doesn't cease simply because they're not able to see each other. Another effective way of being able to manage people while they're working remotely is ensuring that they're able to work much more independently. And in them working independently, you've set expectations already, you're having them collaborate, you're showing care and concern. You're also allowing them to work much more independently. What this does for your team is that they're then able to acquire skills that are essential to them being able to perform at a higher effective level for the team and for the organization. And ultimately, all this will enhance the trust that you have with your team and that the team has with you as their leader and their manager. And with all this taking place, what you see now is that you have a lot more room to be able to manage yourself, because if the work is being done, it's being done effectively, you have a lot more room to be able to do things like taking leave, which is essential in the process of, caring for yourself at this time. It might also mean that you're able to, manage your working hours to maintain a regular schedule. So being able to get up at, to start your workday at 8 and end it at 6 or 5 p.m. because everything is running much more smoothly, people are much more independent, you find that there's a lot more room for you to be able to manage yourself and be able to cope much more effectively during COVID. So I do hope that these tips are very effective in being able to manage yourself and manage your team a little better, and that they'll be effective for you. Thank you for watching.